Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about slipping and scoring and creating sculptural elements that you're going to add to your form. All right, so we've talked about slipping and scoring a little bit when it came to creating our coil forms and how you need to slip and score those pieces together. Here's why it's so important to do it when you're attaching your clay together. This piece, I have my base, I created a coil and I set it on top. It looks like it's attached together, so why bother slipping and scoring? But the thing is, when it dries as it's going in the kiln, that coil will literally just pull right off. And so your whole coil pot will just unravel if you don't slip and score. So the technique that you would need to do is taking your needle tool or whatever scratching tool you're using. You would scratch wherever these pieces are going to attach. So the bottom of the coil, the base that I'm setting it on, and then I would use that slip and paint it on. Some people prefer to use wetter slip. Some people prefer to use thicker slip. It's kind of up to you what you use, but you put that on and then you press it down. Think of the scratches as like teeth of a zipper, and the slip is like your glue. So you want to press those teeth together so you get a strong bond, and then the glue needs a little time to dry. So it might still feel a little wobbly at first. All right, so that's slipping and scoring. The other two parts I want to talk about are blending and smoothing. Typically, when you're creating a coil pot, you don't want to blend out all of the details. So if I like this spiral, I don't want to blend it all together and lose that detail. But maybe a place like this bottom edge, I might want to blend it. So what I can do is either take my finger and smooth the clay, basically blend the coil and the piece together. And then you're gonna see all these little tiny chunks and marks. I might go in a different direction and smooth it out after. Another place this is really common is on the inside of your pinch pot. If you wanna make it more of a smooth finish, you can use this scoring and slipping, blending and smoothing method on the inside. So this is something I already did on this side. You can see that it's much more connected together and it won't have these little bumpy edges. So the way you do it is with your finger or with a dull tool. So I'm using this wooden tool and I'm just going to take and run the tool along to connect it together more. Now, some people like the look of this blending technique, especially if it's really uniform. It adds another texture to your piece. So you could keep that along the inside if you wanted, or you can go back after blending and work on smoothing. So if you notice, I'm going along the edges, and this will kind of create a cleaner finish. Once it gets a little harder, I can use my sponge too, or just a dry finger to smooth that clay in. Okay, so that's slipping, scoring, blending, and smoothing. The other thing I wanted to talk about was our additive method. So we are going to be adding some things. You have to have at least one sculptural element that you're adding onto the surface. So if I wanted to create some kind of, let's say, a person and their head, I could just take some clay and I could start pinching to create that. Okay, maybe I want to have a large nose kind of sticking out. All right, and then I can start doing things like adding decorative elements. So maybe I put some eyes on it. Maybe I put a mouth on the bottom. So this is literally just from pinching and shaping my clay. This could be a sculptural element that I could decide later I want to add to my piece. Okay, other ways that you can do it. You can do things like rolling coils. Kind of depends which technique you want to use because of what you're going to create out of this sculptural element. So let's say I have this theme idea of nature. I might want to do something with coils where I make blades of grass or stems or trees. So I might roll a coil, and that might be my sculptural element. I might have multiple on there so it gets that feeling of grass. I might go and modify my coil by cutting into it or adding some texture to the surface of it. And then that could be something that I could go back to my coil pot and slip and score on. Let's say I wanted to do something with flowers. I could go and roll a slab, okay, remember with our rolling pin, and then I could cut out the shape of the flower that I was thinking of using. I could pinch the edges to kind of create more of a round shape. I could go and add multiple pieces on top of it if I really want it to have more of the look of a flower. If I do this, I have to slip and score. And then I could go to my pot after and slip and score and attach those elements too. Last one, pinch pot. So I could also take and make mini pinch pots, right? If I want to make a different type of flower, maybe that pinch pot is a decorative element, and then I want to add some pieces that kind of stick out to look like the pollen in the center of it. All right, so all of those are ways that you can create the sculptural elements, but remember, slipping and scoring is key for that part.